So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday Business Connection. I'm Ron Cooch from West Coast Contractors. I'm the computer guy out there. Vice President of
Government Affairs and Economic Development.
There you go. I can never remember, but Rosie remembers for me. I'm Vice President of Government Affairs and Economic Development at the Bay Area Chamber of Commerce. That wasn't a pause. That was me catching my place. Programs for the month of September are sponsored by Bay Area Hospital. Now you can. Due to time today, because we have some important things to get through, we won't have time for the go around the room 30-second stuff. So if you have something really important to say, tell somebody sitting in your table. So thank you. So today we have candidates for House Seat District number 1. The incumbent Boice, who is not here, but he is supposed to be here anytime, and Brett Cecil. So Brett, if you can come on up. We'll give your introduction first and hope the court comes. Court had a function over at the Veterans Facility in Roseburg today. No, you don't have to leave, it's okay. Okay. And he said he would be flying in just in time to be here for this. Brett is a resident of Port Orford. He came to Oregon in 2017 with the plan of retiring on our beautiful southwestern coast and enjoying the people, nature, and opportunity to make new friends and neighbors. He became involved in community and political activities after the COVID pandemic impacted all of our lives. He currently works as a political party leader and chair, influencing individuals to work cooperatively and collaboratively. He was first drawn to county level action when the Curry Board of Commissioners disbanded the Curry County Health Department during the pandemic. Brett has lived a life similar to most everyday people that we all know. He intends to use his life experience to improve outcomes for people and businesses while moving Oregonians into the future. He's grateful and honored for this opportunity to meet all of you and in his quest to represent District 1 in our State House of Representatives. I'll go ahead and introduce Boice, hoping that he'll walk in the door. This is doing that. Representative Boice is currently serving in Oregon's District 1 as House Representative and comes from a long line of public servants. Prior to serving as HD1 representative, served 6 years as a Curry County Commissioner, 8 years on the Oregon Marine Board, and as a legislative assistant at the Oregon State Capitol for 40 years. He has also served on over 30 various boards and committees. Court was a business owner for 35 years as owner-operator of Paradise Wilderness Lodge on the Road River. He was also part owner of Jerry's Jet Boats. Representative Boice works as Department Liaison for Veteran Services, Finance Department, Public Health, Coos Fire Protective Association, Wildfires, and Economic Development. Court wishes to continue serving to promote and protect all of what he believes and defends the things we care about. So we're just going to pretend Court is already here. So you get to answer all the court's questions for him too. So here today is my lovely assistant, Andrew Brainerd, who will be keeping track of time for us. And as a reminder, this is a forum, not a debate. We all have different experiences and perspectives, and it's okay to discuss differences and disagree. But let's be civil. We're looking for a kinder, gentler forum. These folks came here not to hear the candidates beat each other up, but to have a good lunch and hear your perspectives and ideas on things. So please, no sticks, no stones, no eye gouging, no tasering. Our flow today will go like this. Each candidate will have a 3-minute opening statement. Then I will ask a question and you will have 2 minutes to respond. Andrew will be holding up a card 15 seconds prior to the 30 seconds. And we'll be holding up a card 30 seconds prior to, oh, he's got all kinds of cards. Just watching. Now I lost myself. At that point, you may finish up your sentence, but please stop at that point. And don't make me break out the tasers. Today, we have 8 questions. I will alternate questions between the candidates. Then we'll have a 2-minute closing statement by each candidate. Since Porter's not here, you will just take the questions as they come. When he does come in, then he'll just have to catch up as we're here. We do have limited time, so Court may only get 7 or 6 or 5 questions. Okay, so the questions. So Brett, if you could give us a 3-minute opening statement.
I'd be glad to. Let's see if I can get our
No,
microphone.
that's not on.
That looks like I gotta go. Thank you. I want to thank the chamber for putting this together today and inviting court also, inviting us here to speak before you today. I appreciate the opportunity to get to know you and for you to get to know me. Just a brief background on myself. I come from a fairly large family of 6. My father was a police officer and my mother worked as a medical transcriber at one of our local medical centers. I grew up in Long Beach, California, and it was St. Mary Medical Center. I remember my mom worked all my life. My father worked as a Long Beach motor officer. I come from, like I said, a large family. There are 4 of us kids. I'm the eldest. I was born in July of 1960 and my baby sister was born in November of 1964. So you can tell I come from a loving family. We were pretty close. I'm a product of public schools. I attended K through community college. And in that process managed to get myself into the computer field quite a few years ago when it wasn't a very popular field. I worked as a medical transcriber at that very same medical center where my mother did. I was also a medical records technician. So I got to read lots of people's histories and stories and see what kinds of things happen to everyday folks. So I was very aware of that. I also worked in our pathology lab there as an assistant to the pathologists. So I was very interested in science and always had a close eye on how our bodies work and how our medical process worked to support all of us as human beings and as citizens. Then further on in my life, I had an opportunity to become certified as a personal trainer, personal fitness instructor, where I got to work with a number of different individuals, improving their lives through better fitness. And during that time period, I was able to also break into the homeowner field. I got to own my first home. And I was also able to become a rental property owner with the goal of providing decent, affordable housing to people that lived in my local area, which ended up being Ukiah, California. So most recently, that was where I lived before I came to Oregon. I lived on a small 10-acre farm where I raised a small herd of milking goats and a pretty large flock of laying hens and kept all of my friends and neighbors supplied with their food needs. And I really enjoyed that. Unfortunately, I've had to move away from that and came to Oregon, where I've been, as Ron mentioned, since 2017, living here amongst you. So thank you again for having me today.
You must have cracked it down. Okay, so now Representative Boice is here. Just to go over the timing really quickly, we'll have an opening statement of 3 minutes. Brett started, so then you're next. And then we have 8 questions, 2 minutes to respond, and then a closing statement of 2 minutes. Our lovely assistant Andrew has cards that he's gonna hold up at different times. I don't even know what the timing is on those, but he does, so just keep an eye on him. So, Representative, can you give us a 3-minute introduction, please?
Well, thank you.
No.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh, that's nice. Nice turnout here. Okay, so I just left Roseburg at 10:30, right on the dot. Douglas County had a rededication to POWs and MIA missing in action. In the front of their courthouse, there's almost 200 people there. As Brett knows, our district is round trip about 380 miles, and I'm always complaining. Rock Smith, the senator, he says, well, I have over almost 500 miles round trip in his Senate District 1. So yes, I did stay under the speed limit. I know those of you that know me don't believe that. Mean looking timekeeper here. So 6 years as county commissioner, born and raised in Curry County, so I know the district very well. And it's been a tremendous privilege to serve. When it comes to building relationships, friendships, and getting endorsements, I'm pretty much in awe of what I've been able to be exposed to and learn and grow, and I think be very effective in the last 2 years. My crew reminded me the other day, well, first of all, my wife says, I have a 20-year-old Honda Ridgeline. And she refers to it as a truck. I said, honey, in this part of Oregon, it's not a truck, it's a car. But honestly, I've put in about 55,000 miles in 21 months. It's not a complaint, you know, I have some downtime that I can legally be on the phone. And spend a lot of time doing that. Things are pretty intense in Salem. There is, working with the governor's office, it's an interesting time. And of course, you have to run every 2 years. And sometimes you look over your shoulder and you're going, am I campaigning now or am I here for rep duty? So today, I really hope it's 50-50. Oregon is in a real tough spot right now. We have some serious problems to solve. We also have some incredible opportunities. We see businesses that, represents the majority party, and they've taken some stances that are not good for my district, and they vote almost 100% of the time together. So in the minority, from a business background, from a family background, a faith background, I represent this area. I think my rural part of the best rural part of Oregon. I think I represent it very well. So pro-business attitude. I have endorsements from National Federation of Independent Business, 100% voting record. The Defender of Small Business in Oregon got their endorsement. I could talk more about the other endorsements later. Thank you. Right. I know this didn't help.
You're up next.
Leave it on.
Yes. Okay, so starting with, is it okay if I use your first names?
Of course.
Okay, so starting with Court. And then I'll alternate who gets the question first. But what do you see as a state representative's role in supporting Southwest Oregon's businesses? 2 minutes.
2 minutes. So Coos County, Coos Bay in particular, has become the talk of the state of Oregon. And it's a source of pride for us. But there's a lot of work to do, but I attended a housing summit in Portland and met with Mayor Ted Wheeler. Now, he's not the most popular mayor in America or even Oregon, but I got to spend about 3 hours with him and the work he's doing on housing. Learned a great deal. I was there with Representative Pam Marsh, who's a Democrat. Of course, I'm a Republican, but I built a good working relationship with her. She's very well respected in the Capitol. So housing is a gigantic issue in every part of our district, every part of our state. So I serve on the Housing and Homeless this committee, and I'm sure I'll be there, if I get reelected, I'll be there full time. And that impacts the South Coast. When I say Southwest Oregon, especially the Coos Bay area, has become a source of pride because of the amount of building and expansion, economic growth here, even though we have a long way to go, is something we can tag and show to the rest of the state. There's still that continual urban-rural divide, and I think one of my biggest jobs is to close that gap. And frankly, folks, I see such a bad party in spending, and in the minority party, sometimes we can't control that. We can speak up, we can reach across the aisle, and I do. There's about 8 or 10 Democrats that I think have huge hearts, and I work very well with. The other 25 or 20, sometimes I go, where are you from? Look what's happening in the city of Portland. And we could talk more about that too. I'll never give up, because that used to be also a great source of pride, but it's not now. It's an embarrassment around the United States of America. So more on the South Coast later. Thank you.
Brett, what do you see as the state representative's role in supporting Southwest Oregon's businesses?
I think the biggest issue, as Court mentioned, that housing is a big issue for us, and I was speaking with a couple of you while we were having our lunch. But I think our housing is definitely a huge issue for us, and that's something that I definitely want to address. It causes us difficulty in retaining staff in medical offices and hospitals. It causes us, at least in Curry County, we've had issues with retaining police officers and fire personnel, and even state employees who can't find places to live so that they can work in our counties and in the district. And for those of you who aren't aware, the first district does not include the city of Coos Bay. So we come up as far as about 7 Devils, and then up the river over into Sumner and Allegheny, and then east over toward Douglas County. And so, as most of you know, there are some issues around housing in all of those areas, trying to get our people off the streets and out of their cars and in homes. People with a roof over their head are no longer homeless. Our medical needs as well. I know most of us have difficulty hanging on to a doctor more than a few months at a time. And I place a lot of that on the fact that we have a difficult time keeping staff in our medical offices and hospitals because of their difficulty of attaining housing. So housing is the first thing for me. Healthcare is second thing. And in my last 30 seconds, I just want to look at the house of cards that's built out of those two things. We've got to make all these happen together, because having not only employees, but also consumers that live in this area helps to support our businesses. Our businesses won't thrive. Our economy won't thrive without people who are able to be involved in our economy and spending in our consumer-based economy. So those are the things that I'm seeing that I will, as a legislator, address.
Okay, Brett, you're up next on this one. How would you work with the regulatory and permitting system as a legislator to make our system work more efficiently?
I'm sorry.
Oh, throw it to me, all right.
Forgive me for being late, by the way, Brett.
You're forgiven to give me a chance to have some lunch. Thank you. As a legislator, obviously, we do a lot of legislating, so we're setting up the rules and the laws as to how things are going to work. I hear a lot of discussion about regulation, how it keeps us from getting things accomplished. I want to be really careful about speaking ill of our regulations because they also keep us safe. Some of the things that we look at in housing are our building codes and our zoning codes. That helps to give us some regularity and some stability in how we do things. We do live in an earthquake zone. Most of us don't keep that in mind. We don't talk about it enough. But we do need to, as we build our new housing, make sure that there are some regulations and codes that support those needs. So that should we have a situation like that, we're not left without homes as well. And legislators obviously have a very large role in handling those things. So I will, if elected, have to be involved in determining the needs of our district around housing and business regulations. It's not just building regulations and codes we have to look at. There are zoning codes as well. So I'll definitely get involved in that and make sure that our businesses are included. Again, back to supporting our consumers and the people that live in the area, which helps to support our economy and our businesses. They all work together and function together, and we've got to make sure that all those pieces work. Thank you.
Good. Court?
I won't jump the guns. If you employ people, would you raise your hand, please? Just 3 or 4? Thank you. There is here's what we do. There's an incredible anti-business attitude controlled by the state government. I just can't say it any plainer. Every bill we come up with, we can support business, especially small business, we have to fight for. It's wrong. Those people that employ those hardworking men and women of this region are not respected. We are losing businesses outside of the state by the growth. We're having good, productive, effective people to leave our state. And there's a reason. There's an anti-business attitude. It is the bad spending. I spent, you mentioned medical, Brett, and I spent 2 hours at the Bannon Hospital the other day. I have 3 rural hospitals in my district, between Coquille Valley, Curry General, Boice, and of course, South Coots and Bandon. So until we, from a state perspective, reach out in the common sense. By the way, one of my buddies called me up the other day, said, I have a new campaign slogan for you. I said, what's that? He said, voice of reason. Didn't get too good a reaction here. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, wait, do it again.
Voice of reason.
Ah!
Thank you, Ron. So there's just a lot of illogical, it's a privilege to be a lawmaker. It's a privilege to work for you and serve you. I have 75,000 bosses in 3 counties, and boy, it keeps me motivated. Families keep me motivated. There's an anti-family attitude there. If you have kids, if you have grandkids, I could spend more time on that to be really specific for you, to tell you why that I think I have to battle that. Because it's a movement against traditional virtues and values that most of us in this room hold really dear. We want to teach our kids, and families, and grandkids. Thank you.
You're up next. You don't have to jump the gun this time. You were the gun.
Nice reaction a minute ago.
What do you see as our greatest challenges in Southwest Oregon, and how will you address these concerns as a legislator?
Do I go first? I also spent a full day with the Oregon Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum, who is a Democrat. And I really valued that time because her primary, she brought 35, 36 attorney generals, state attorney generals around the country to Portland. And I was the only legislator there. I'm not bragging about that, but it was a very informative time. 2 or 3 of my bills, should I be elected, I have to do with trafficking. The extent our kids are groomed on the internet. I made a trip to the border for 3 days last April. You talk about open your eyes. Our women and kids, if I can just really be plain, are at the hands of the drug cartels. I'm going to be on a radio interview with Lars Larson here. Let me go past one, okay? And we're going to be talking about border. He said the greatest issue, illegal immigration into our country. I don't know anyone, never have known anyone that isn't for legal immigration. It's part of our fabric of America. But the extent that people are pouring over our border, and I mean really bad people. On the north, you have the Antifa. Let's just give you one example here. Remember in April, 17 police cars destroyed. Cost the taxpayers $1 million. You're going to pay for that too at Portland State University. No one has been held accountable. We have the cartels. My middle son is a drug enforcement with OSP, head of all 7 counties, the 7 southern counties of Oregon. And the drug cartels are coming over our border. I don't want to overstate this. I'm not trying to frighten anyone. We have some major battles here, and it has because you go to Arizona and you see what the people are dealing with down there. It'll break your heart. And I could be more specific. I'll let it go at that. Now we just find out we have a Venezuela gang just east of Vale in Ontario, the Idaho border. So we're surrounded. And then you got can I finish with this? You got dumb offshore wind, towers being forced down our throats in the federal government. So we got some battles. I think I'm the guy to keep the pressure on and push back against all four of those, not limited to.
Okay. Brett, what do you see as our greatest challenges in Southwest Oregon, and how will you address these as a legislator?
I think I've addressed what I think is our greatest challenge is housing. But again, I think our businesses need to be supported as well. And I've said that, and I believe in supporting our people, making sure that we're housed, that we're healthy, wealthy, and wise, that our businesses will thrive, because our people that live in the district will have the means necessary to be able to spend money in our businesses, to be good consumers, and keep things moving along in our counties and in our district. The other issues I see, again, back to healthcare, it's something we really have to address on the ground level. It's part of our house of cards, as I see it. We have to have all those pieces in there to make it stand up. Jobs is a big thing. So how are we going to have consumers living in our district that are supporting our businesses if they don't have a means to earn an income to be consumers in the district and help support our businesses? So I know there are some issues with our port of Coos Bay, of doing some expansion. I'm trying to stay in the pipeline on that, following what's going on there. I know most of our labor unions are supporting some expansion there. And I'm open to all of those ideas, everything that we can do to create more jobs for people that live in our county and live in the district. And finally, I think that considering people's freedoms, making sure that we're supported with our personal needs is a really important thing for us to keep in mind. I'm going to be pledging to make myself available to voters and citizens in the district, should I be elected, of holding annual town hall meetings in all three of the counties, Curry, Coos, and Douglas counties, so that we can do something similar to this on a more local basis. So those are some of the issues I think are important to us. Thanks.
Okay, Brett. Excuse me, Brett, you'll be first on this one. Partisanship seems to be at an all-time high. How do you plan to work across the aisle to get business-friendly legislation passed?
You're calling for Brett on this, right? All right, thank you. Just to get back to being civil, I was talking with someone before we started our lunch, that we lost civility kind of all the way around, and I'm seeing that happen, driving stories, creating stories just to get people's attention, to try and follow you on social media or something of that sort. Court's mentioned that he has to work with other people. And I know I heard him in another forum that he and I both were involved in. David Brock Smith as well was there. It was during our primary elections in Bandon. And David and Court both mentioned to some of the other candidates that were there who were saying they didn't want to have to work with the other side. They were just going to dig in and say no. Court and David both rightly said they have to work with other people to get legislation passed. So that is one of my issues, is I want to be civil and I want to work with the other people in the House, regardless of their party. We can make some common sense decisions and start supporting each other and getting things done for our citizens. That's where I think we can make the biggest difference. And I'm going to leave it at that with a minute to go.
Ooh, thank you very much.
Hey, just to clarify, I didn't need to apply that Coos Bay is part of my district, but what goes for Coos Bay is going to be very helpful. Coquille, Brook Point, Bandit, Gold Beach, Brookings, Port Orford, even Winston. And so they're kind of like our grandfather, wife's grandfather, and grandmother, you know, it's just very important that we support that and understand that. As a commissioner, 6 years, I mean, when I was selected to take Brock Smith's place, there's only one commissioner out of 9 that didn't vote for me. So because I've built relationships with them. You talk to anybody in my office, in Salem, previously as a Curry County Commissioner, they will tell you, I would always walk the extra mile to just simply go up there. And sometimes it is tempting to go to the House floor and vote no automatically because it's hard to logically justify some of the bills that are not good for Southwest Oregon. But if you vote no, then you get that reputation and you can't reach across the aisle and you won't be effective, you won't be successful. And I don't want to waste my time up there, and I don't think I have. So I'm very proud of the relationship that I have built. And I'm gonna keep doing that. Those are people that make my phone call. I just got off the phone with the new Senate President, excuse me, I'm sorry. Speaker of the House, Fahey. We're working on our Rogue Siskiyou Regional Fire Training Center, and it was a very pleasant call. I mean, I could give you a big list, but it's just part of, Brett mentioned Brock Smith. I mean, I've been following that guy for 10 years, and he is one of the most effective legislators that I've ever been around. And that's way before we thought of going to Salem as a state rep. And I worked with Vic and Tia back in the 70s and 80s when I was in my 20s, just, because he had a great business background and I was employing people during that time. So I know my time is up. Who is this guy?
He's the boss.
He's the boss.
Court. You're up. What professional experience, business activities, or community involvement do you believe best demonstrate your skills as an effective leader, policymaker, and the ability to work with other entities to accomplish goals? Excuse me.
If you're a veteran, would you raise your hand? Anybody? Wow. Thanks for your service. We've got one candidate, I won't mention his name, but I've spent a lot of time with him, and this will be his second run. He almost won in 2022. As you know, we have to run every 2 years. And he said, sometimes, Court, I just don't know how qualified I really am. And we all ask ourselves that question sometimes, and you wanna feel in your heart, mind, and soul that you are gonna be effective, that you are gonna get your paycheck and be earning of it. We don't get paid very much, do we, Brett? But it's, it's a tremendous honor, and but he communicated, he says, I just don't know how qualified I am. First of all, the guy's a family man, a dang good one. He's a 24-year Air Force veteran. And he's been in business as an insurance agent for about 16 years. And his question to me was sincere. I'm really qualified, just between you and I. I said, my gosh, it's a citizen legislature. We work with doctors. In fact, there's 3 Democrats that are doctors. I get along with them all good because they're a go-to person when there's medical questions. Rural work. And so that has a lot of meaning to me. And so there's contractors, and I kind of want to get back to that, but there are contractors, we talk about building houses, those guys, you could go back and look at one of my speeches on the floor. These guys just want to provide a home for people. They love building. They want to provide a quality program. They want to take good care of their crew, keep them safe, and go on to the next job. We're scaring them out of Oregon. So sometimes the Democratic talking points are freedom. They don't vote that way. They do not vote that way. And they vote as a block because moderate Democrats, and there are some moderate Democrats in the Oregon legislature, both in the House and Senate side, but they have to vote as a block or they'll get primaried by the Portland radicals. I'm sorry if that sounds brash or too much, but it's the way it is. So we've got to get people elected from the rural parts of Oregon and close that urban growth gap. Thank you.
Brett, do you need me to repeat that?
Please do it.
Yes. It's kind of a long one.
Thank you.
What professional experience, business activities, or community involvement do you believe best demonstrate your skills as an effective leader, policymaker, and the ability to work with other entities to accomplish goals?
I think I'm up.
I'm fine. I'll fill in for it.
Thanks.
So most recently, and Ron read in my introduction, that I am the chair of the Curry County Democrats, and I do work together with people, not just Democrats, but people of all different mindsets, trying to work cooperatively and collaboratively. See, I tongue twisted that too, Ron, so you're not alone. So it's bringing different people together with different ideas and trying to come up with solutions to problems. And professionally, I did work in a medical setting. I've worked in a veterinary clinic setting. So I have some insights there. And I've also worked in the tech area, working in aerospace as a computer operator. Gave me some insight to really big work that required lots of like army ants doing intense jobs to produce one big B-2 bomber was the project that I got to work on. Quite proud of that. But then the other part of my professional background was working one-on-one with people with their own personal fitness needs and their own health needs. And so I'm able to work with groups of people. I'm able to work with individuals as well. And my most favorite professional part that I think does gear into this was having been a farmer rancher, and being able to raise my own food, and help other people have access to that as well. I think it's something that will pay me greatly into the future and help me work in the legislature to have a better insight as to what the needs are all over the state. Because Portland isn't the only city and Port Orford isn't the only town in Oregon. We have lots of things all in between, and we've got to cover all of them and work with people in all those settings. So I'm hoping that those professional bits of my background are going to help me in the legislature. Thank you.
Thank you. That was number 5, by the way, going on to number 6. We're in the home stretch.
I'm gonna let you keep track of the numbers.
Okay.
I'm getting hungry.
Can you throw a biscuit up here? For
I'm a good catcher.
Hey, Brett, you're first in this one. How do you see Oregon addressing the growing need for affordable housing and forming a stronger partnership with cities and counties for long-term solutions to the homeless challenge?
Yeah, so, right, exactly. So we have lots of ways we have to address our housing situation, because dealing with the homeless part of that is finding some transitional housing. Obviously, we don't want people to be living in motel rooms for their entire life if we can avoid it. We want to transition them into something more permanent. I personally, and I will tell you this right up front, I moved to Oregon in 2017 and lived in my RV on my friend's property. I currently live in an RV park in Port Orford. It suits my needs, but that doesn't suit everyone's needs. So I wouldn't wish that on anyone that doesn't want to be there. So transitional housing is something we have to work on that will help us move people into more permanent housing. At the same time, we've got to build more housing so we'll have places to put people. So you can kind of see the ball of wax that I'm putting together here. It's going to be a long-term look, but we've got to get started on it. And we have a lot of short-term rentals, vacation rentals that happen. I think that maybe we can get a little closer handle, a better handle on that situation. So that some of the housing that's existing, we can actually have families and workforce living there. And I'm just gonna leave it at that, because I think Court's got some really good ideas too. I'm gonna let him share those with you.
Thank you. Yesterday I spent 2 hours with Will Lathrop, who is candidate for Attorney General. Nothing against Dan Rayfield, he was a great Speaker of the House. But the people that have been in power are continually being reactive instead of proactive. Sometimes the term is used, you're looking upriver, you're not seeing how we got to these problems. That's a breakdown of the family. That's again, I'm gonna repeat it. This is a word, a disappreciation for people that employ businesses. And so when you can't look upriver, then you spend a lot of money. And then this is something Lathrop said yesterday, and it's so true. I added a little bit to it I don't need today, but he said basically, okay, we've got this problem, $500,000. We'll just use that figure. So you come back to legislature the next year and nothing got solved. Well, we must need more money. So this time we put in $700,000. So that's what happens in Salem. And it's a tremendous lack of discipline. It's a tremendous, sometimes the Portland elite, they are constantly learning, but they don't face the truth. And then when they fail to do that, they continually perpetuate and exacerbate the problem. far as qualification goes, I sometimes, as I mentioned a minute ago, sometimes you question if you're really that qualified. So I used to run a wilderness lodge, Red River, only to get there by boat. So if you have 30 wet raptors coming in and you don't have hot water and it's raining, you got a problem on your hands. You better be able to think real fast, keep a smile on your face and solve the problem. That's why I'm in Salem, and I take that real seriously. It's intense sometimes, enjoy it. It's right where I need to be, and if I can get your trust and all the people that have put me there, I will be, my life will be an absolute joy. And so, yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.
Okay, so Court. North Point Development has plans to build a container terminal on Coos Bay. Additionally, there are emerging plans for offshore wind developments in the area. What is your stand on these and other industrial developments in the Bay Area?
You just said it, industry. What has Southern Oregon, Southwest Oregon, particularly Port of Coos Bay, North Bend, been lacking? How many years? As that industry that we lost with the timber industry. I'll refrain. Sometimes people see me coming, they go, "Oh, Boice is going to talk about fire and forest management." Yeah, that's my number one issue. We grow trees here so fast. It's such the best quality in the world, and we insist on burning them up. And we destroy our watersheds, we destroy our wildlife, we destroy our air quality. I'll leave it at that for now, but I'd love if anyone would want to talk about it. I'll come back after 1 o'clock after radio interview. But the industry, the potential we have in that location, Port of Coos Bay, it's exciting. Can we remove the hurdles? Can we get everybody in this room united to make that happen? Of course, there's some environmental issues that we have to deal with, and we're already there. We're already focused properly on that. When it comes to offshore wind, believe me, I researched this with a good Native American friend of mine. For 3 years, I give it every chance to have my questions answered. More industrial potential coming into Goose Bay, Bandon, Court, Gold Beach, Brookings, Port Orford. The questions never got answered. And so I am a hard no. I have been for the last year. I just want to assure you that I did thorough research to see if this is possible to make this work. It can't work. It won't happen in my lifetime. The water's too deep here. The storms are too intense. There's just a million, we don't have the technology. And so let's focus on the container project and make that work. And again, pull everybody on board and be excited about it and watch these communities grow, not just Coos Bay or Bend.
Would you like me to read that again?
If you wouldn't mind. If you wouldn't mind, please.
I would be happy to. North Point Development has plans to build a container terminal on Coos Bay. Additionally, there are emerging plans for offshore wind developments in the area. What is your stand on these and other industrial developments in the area?
So on the container project, I would like to see Coos Bay work as a port to its top potential. I think that just makes sense in the long run for anybody involved. It would be a boon for our businesses. I think it would be a boon for our citizens. There would be plenty of jobs coming out. We could employ a lot of people there. As far as offshore wind energy generation, we haven't talked at all about climate during this discussion. So one of my issues around this offshore wind electrical power generation is we've got to start looking at ways to do this. And I've had people tell me, why don't we bring it onshore? But onshore, we don't have the wind to power it consistently. That offshore wind, those locations have been identified because they have constant wind at those high speeds. So you don't have, like with solar overnight, you can't generate electricity in the dark if you've got a solar panel. But the wind out there will run a turbine around the clock. And that isn't the only type of renewable energy we need to start working on. There are some tidal projects that are going on. Solar, obviously, we already have going on, pardon me. And we've got to work on our climate. One of the issues that we have right now is our water temperatures off our shore of Oregon have actually risen enough that it's affecting our krill growth, which is the food for our whales. We keep hearing about whales that wash up dead. It's not because of wind turbines. It's because they're starving to death. So we have issues we have to deal with in our climate and in our environment. It also affects our forests. And the fires that we have, none of us are burning down forests on purpose. But I know we're not setting those on fire because we don't like them. We love our forests, and we want to make sure that they're maintained and retained in the best quality timber that we can have. So those are my positions on those two things. I can't say that I'm 100% in on all of it, but I'm going to give it my best shot to make sure that we address the best parts of it for Oregon. Thank you.
Good. I will stop at 7 questions. That was 7 if you're counting, just due to lack of time. So now we have closing statements. Court, starting with you. 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Well, thank you again for the invite. I think it's safe to say there might be people in Winston, all the way down to Brookings, including part of East Side here, that know the district as good as I do, but I don't think there's anybody that knows it better. I don't think you're gonna find anybody that cares more. I don't think you're gonna find anybody that will outwork me. That's my reputation in the capital. That's my reputation as a commissioner. I'm not bragging about that. That's just my DNA. And to take this job on, you better be ready to work that hard and that consistently. And, I think it's all been said. I would just like to add, the family breakdown again. I mentioned that a minute ago. And what they're teaching our kids in school. And Brett, that's your party. So if you win, you need to be prepared for that, because you won't be allowed to vote out of step in a general sense. And so these turbines are getting pushed down our throat by the Biden-Harris administration. I'm sorry, okay, but it's a boondoggle. It has not worked on the East Coast. It works because there was so much government subsidies on the western shores of Europe, okay, where they have shallow waters. Alternative energy, who is not for that? But we have passed in the Oregon legislature in the last 10 years some absolute unrealistic approaches to alternative energy. Mark my word, if you haven't already seen it, they pulled the 4 dams out of the Klamath River. Bad decision for our fish, for our power, for our agriculture in Klamath County. They're talking about pulling Bonneville out. You are already seeing your electric grids skyrocket. We've not seen anything yet. I'm hoping we gain a few seats in the House, maybe the Senate, so we can put a stop to some of this and keep those rates down, support PGE, hold them accountable, of course, and we do. But alternative energy has got to come at a slower pace and a realistic pace. Thank you.
Brett, would you like me to repeat that?
My closing statement.
Your closing statement.
I think I'm clear on that part. Thanks. So I want to thank you all for coming out today. I appreciate you giving me your ears. I try and use both of mine, so I use my ears twice as much as I use my mouth. I don't have experience in the legislature, and I haven't been involved in as an elected person to anything other than being elected as chair of my county party. But I do have experience as a person on the ground, and I do get out to all these parts of the district. So east side, western Douglas County. I know folks that live there. Brookings and Gold Beach. Port Orford's my home, as I mentioned. Powers is a little town. I'm getting ready to get up and do some door knocking up there, so I want to meet some of the folks in Powers. Interesting towns. And Myrtle Point and Coquille, I think, are just lost little gems. We need to somehow get those regenerated. I personally want to work on it, and you've heard me talk about this here. And one of the things I get to do as a candidate is repeat myself a lot. I think we need to work on just care in general. So it's healthcare for our people, care for our disabled, care for our elderly, which includes housing. Care for our kids. People trying to go to work, where are they gonna put their kids? We don't have any childcare, not much childcare available for people that want to be at work. And when it costs more to put your kids in childcare than you're gonna bring in a day in your pay, that's a difficult road to hoe. So those are issues I want to look at for care for us as Oregonians. Again, as I mentioned, our climate is a big issue for me. I think we need to look at that. I don't think that we could develop alternative energies too fast. I think we need to work on all of those consistently and constantly. That'll be a benefit to us, not only in jobs, but a benefit to us in our climate. Our watersheds really need attention. We've got to protect them. And my time is up, but I want to thank you again all for being here today.
Okay,
Do we have time for?
thank you to you both for being here. Next week, we'll be hearing from candidates for North Bend Mayor Jessica Engelke and Harry Haynes. I'd just like to mention, the folks are entering into the political season. And there's a lot of contention over the last few years. But I think we all want the same thing, don't we? We want a safe place to call home, a nice town to raise our kids and grandkids, and an area to be proud of, right? Does anybody not want that? We have different ideas of how to get there, but that's okay. But we need to be, as Brett said, we need to be civil. We need to give a little bit of grace to our neighbors and sometimes our relatives. So just calm it down, please. Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we have Rojo, team